So
Okay.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Wait, were you thinking about something that
No.
I should ask?
No.
Okay. We don't have to leave this one. Like, we can trash this video if it ends up being too personal.
No, I don't care.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
What did you really love about your life when you were doing that? And what did you really hate?
I really enjoyed, in a sick sort of way, I guess. I enjoyed figuring them out. I enjoyed developing the theory of the case. I enjoyed figuring out the other side's case. My mentor taught me very early in my career that you will never win a case when you do not understand the other side's case better than you understand your own.
That makes complete sense.
And so the thing I enjoyed about the practice was not only figuring out the theory of my client's case, but also figuring out the other side, and however many other sides there may or may not have been, their case, what they were going to argue. And I enjoyed figuring that out. I enjoyed a lot of the motion practice and setting those things up. I enjoyed planning the discovery, so you to get the information to figure things out. I enjoyed that part. The part that I didn't enjoy is it is 110,000% a lifestyle that is based in conflict. It is not a job. You do it all day, every day. I tell kids this. My mom actually calls me a dream killer because kids are like, I want to go to law school. I'm like, no, you don't. But, and I think you and I have talked about this, but it doesn't cut.
It just grabbed me so hard. Like
it
right
does,
now when you said like conflict because I can do conflict. I know how to adult. I know how to do it. I know how to teach people to do it. But that's a whole lot different than when you're like, this is my life 24/7.
Yep. And so you get up, the very first email that you're going to see in the day is somebody fighting with you. There's going to be a conflict email. It's going to be something's wrong. You're having to answer it, and you're having to answer it in a very hyper technical, legally focused way. If you're getting a phone call, 8 to 9 times out of 10, that's going to be combative. If you're going to court that day, it's going to be you're going to be arguing with the court. You're going to be arguing with the other side. Then you get all of the joy and happiness, at least in those instances, they're coming at you. But then the part that really ends up soul sucking is then the clients fight with you because they don't want to pay the bill. Because they wanted Scorched Earth, but nobody understands that if you want Scorched Earth, Tomahawk missiles are really effing expensive.
It was expensive.
F-16s are really expensive when you jump them off the deck of an aircraft carrier. They take a lot of fuel. All of the things that they shoot off that make all the pretty big explosions, those all cost money, and they take gas and they break. And every time they come back, they have to be fixed and they have to be rearmed. Well, people come in and I want a Scorched Earth attorney. I want to fight them. I want to win. And it's like, great, but that's super expensive. And invariably 2 years in, they've been bleeding all of this money, and even big institutional clients that have the money to pay for it. It starts to mess with their bottom lines, and the accountants are like, why are we spending all of this money on this? So then you get to fight with the clients about the bills, notwithstanding they wanted what you're giving them. And then you get the added joy of fighting with your partners over money and who gets more money because who collected more and who's using more of the firm's resources. So who should pay more overhead towards the overhead of the firm and how much you take back. And so it just be, at least the way I did it, and I'm sure there's other people that have found a different, better way to do it, but with me, it was a life. You could never just say, okay, work's over, I'm going home. It was driving home from work. You're worried about the case or the argument you're going to make or how you're going to present this at oral argument or what the phone call with the mediator is going to sound like or what are you going to talk to the client about. I would have nights where I would be arguing one side of a case in kind of a half like twilight sleep, and then I'd flip over and in the same half twilight, then I'd start arguing the other side of the case in my head. And again, maybe that was just a flaw in me.
No, I haven't seen.
But the people that were good that I would go to if I needed an attorney, they all one lady has to wear a bit. Because she grinds her teeth at night.
Everybody that I know that thinks a lot complexly thinks in their sleep. and everything. This is psych me. And every time there's some type of conflict or tension, that also comes through in sleep. So keep on going.
Yeah.
This was not
To
your point.
But I share this because people think that they want to do this, and it's like, it's not. And maybe the younger generation has figured it out. I'm probably shouldn't have done that. I'm probably one of the last that was built the way I was built, and I'm not saying that I'm anything great, but when I first came out, I would work 24 hours. I would go home, take a shower, change suits, and go back to work. And I do that for 3 or 4 days on end at the beginning of my career, and so it's a life. And that's why, I don't know any people that I think of very, 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 very highly of as attorneys that are on their same life partner. We've usually, me included, they usually are divorced 2 and 3 times. More often than not, they don't have a real good relationship with their kids because they're always at work. And yes, that falls on the individual, but until you've done it, you don't really understand how much it can take over your life and how hard it is to push those things out of your head, because you've got to understand them so well to argue with them and to fight about them, that it's not just something that you can go, okay, it's out now. You'll spend 6 months trying to figure out something and then it's there. And so it's not, or at least for me, again, experiences can differ, but the people that I respect, the people that I practiced with, again, which may be some sort of confirmation bias, but that's how we all did it. And we all had different stress related things to go along with it. Teeth grinding. A lot of people that I know are on different mental health medications, lots of therapy, lots of substance abuse, lots of, things that aren't good for you and that take its toll after a while. And at the end of the day, you're not really making that much money. Maybe some people do. I didn't. I made a fair living. I'm not crying poor, but at the same point in time, if you start looking at how much of your life you are truly devoting to that job versus how much you're getting paid, it's $20, $30 an hour. Now, you can't bill the client for that. You can't bill the client for driving in your car, sitting there, waiting in traffic, arguing both sides of whatever you're going to argue when you get on the phone with the court. You can't bill them for that. You can try, but they won't pay for it over a long enough period of time. Or the sleepless nights where you just can't get it out of your head, or you get all ramped up to go to trial, and then you're there in the morning and you're ready to go, and you've literally come to a settlement on the courthouse steps, and then you have to go into a completely different mindset. And then it's constantly it's super high and super low, and there's never a medium, and there's never just showing up to work to sit there and surf on the internet, because you don't get paid for that. If you're not doing something you can't bill, if you can't bill the client for it, you may as well not be at work.
So you're working all the time, but you can't bill it all the time. I was like, I actually wanted to rescue you from, seriously, even just like talking about it. But there was one point where I interrupted you. Were you going to say something about Nana or?
No, not that I know about.
Okay, all right.
No.
I thought
she calls me. No, she calls me a dream killer, because when young people come to me and they're like, "I want to go to law school," and I'm like, "Actually, you don't, because it's not going to pay what it is traditionally paid, and we can do a whole video on this if you want. I can give you where I think the practice of big law is going, but
I'll make a note.
But they don't. They think it's gonna be a job. And I understand why, but it's not a job. It's a life. It's at least the way I know how to do it, the way I know that you get a big salary. It's not a job. It's a life. You eat it, sleep it, breathe it. It consumes you. And if you're lucky, you figure out how to temper it out later in life and moderate it. But it's not, oh, I'm going into the office, it's Friday, and I'm going to be there for 4 hours, and then I'm going to go home. I can't tell you how many times I thought that was going to happen, and I ended up working through the entire weekend because somebody filed a motion under an emergency basis that had to be responded to by Monday morning at 8 o'clock. So it's not a job. It's job, but it's not.
But it's not. I remember we were wow. I'm like so glad that you're not doing this. It's but yeah, when you said it's not a job, I just remembered we were talking one time and we were planning something, and you said that Fridays, to stay away from Fridays, because Fridays is when like things would blow up, and often it was like a form of messing with people.
Yeah.
And so that's like so different than people that are like, oh, it's Friday, happy Friday.
Oh no, and that's, that goes back to my sermon about when somebody says they want scorched earth litigation, they want somebody who's just horrible. Part of that is weaponizing and taking advantage of people's emotions and their mental health.
Yeah.
Because and I did it.
Yeah.
I'm a bad human. I did it. We would literally sit down and have meetings where we would figure out how we could stage motion practice. Because if you file a motion in court, the other side has so many days to respond, and then they file a response, and you have so many days to reply, and then you have so many days before the court's going to hear it, if the court's going to hear it. Well, we would figure out how many motions we could get away with filing, because the court doesn't want to see a bunch of motions just for motions. Mm-hmm. They want you to consolidate them if you've got a bunch of issues. Scorched earth litigation, we would cut the lines, we would cut the fine lines about how many motions we could get away with and without getting in trouble with the court or too much trouble with the court. And then we would stage those. So we would file the first motion, and then when they just did the day before they were set to respond to that one, or the day they responded, we'd hit them with the next motion. And then just as they were getting ready to respond to that one, we'd hit them with the next motion. And they'd do the same to us. But that way you're constantly in a cycle of the stress of dealing with those motions and trying to figure them out and trying to respond to them. And we would do it around holidays, or we would do it when we knew they were going on vacation. That was the game. A lot of people in my trade, we don't take vacations. Don't. Because it was more work to get ready for and clean up after being out of the office for a week than it was just to ignore it and just take whatever time you could get when you could get it. Because we do that to each other. And that's the unspoken, no, we're all very professional. No, that's not how it works. And it's especially not how it works when you're working for the corporate overlords that are paying for scorched earth litigation. Folks, I know if we do a lot of these, you'll get used to it, and I'm not trying to overplay it, but and Dr. Groff can talk to this better than I can. Lawyers typically use a lot of war analogies because it is conflict, I think, is why we do it. I'm not the only one that does it.
About armor.
Yeah.
You mentioned putting on armor, and when you were talking, like I heard you before, I got it before, I got the armor before, I got you before, but I don't know. Again, honestly, I don't know how thick of an armor I would need to put on. And then the other part that sucks about that is, like, these days, I'm not, this interview is going to turn into about me, so it's not, but like what I love the most is actually not even professional armor, just like being more and more around people where I can just completely be myself. And yeah, with the professional edges where that makes sense, but it's like the opposite of like fighting. And so I don't know, when you were talking, I was just thinking it was not only armor, but it was like very, very, very strong.
Mm-hmm. Well, but what I want to share with your audience is, and I've seen it in.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, that's okay. No, but this is part of why I think this is valuable is giving both sides to it and getting the audience or people who think they know about this, or more importantly, are scared of it, an understanding about what it is. And here's the thing the point that I was going to make, because I've seen it happen in just my personal relationships. I chuckle. It's mean. It's cruel. I'm sorry, but I do. I chuckle when people think that there's going to be a fair fight. There's no such thing in this world as a fair fight. If you're going to have a fair fight, you're going to lose.
I'm not saying I've seen exactly that. Serious, like people are like, I want to be fair, and I'm like, if you start there, you're going to be screwed over.
Well, but it's more important than that, because people somehow think that if they're going to engage in litigation, if they're going to fight, that there's some level of propriety. And it's like, no, this is war. And you only lose when you're not willing to do that which your opponent is. So if you think that you're going to go into this and that somehow you're going to have this shield, yeah, you're going to have a shield, but that doesn't mean you're not going to get cut. Doesn't mean that there's not going to be an arrow that doesn't come through that shield and sting you. And that's because I've seen it in other contexts where it's, and this is, I'm not being mean, but it seems to happen more often in family law, which is not something I do, but it's something that happens to everybody else. Well, you know, invariably it's like this 6-month process, because somebody will ask me my thoughts on their divorce, and I'll be like, that's not what I do, but this is probably what's going to happen. And what do you know? But here's the funny part of the story. The first 6 months, so you get this story. Well, my attorney's going to do this, and my attorney's going to do that, and we're going to find out this, and we're going to find out that, and they're just going to be miserable. It's like, cool. And then 6 months later, they're like, I need to talk to you. And it's like, okay. Can you believe that the other side is demanding that I do this? And it's like, yeah. Well, how dare they? That's not right. That doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing. And it's like, it's a fight. Did you not think they were going to kick you in the special place if they got a good clean shot at it? Because that'll end the fight. Just saying. But no, you get this righteous indignation. They have the audacity to ask me for all these things that I demanded. How dare they? It's like, well, it was funny when you were doing it. And they're like, well, no. And that's what I always think is funny, and what I try to relate to people. Like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it's like, okay, but understand, all of those things can be returned.
And that's what you've said to me before. And then we're going to cut this and we're going to move on. But it's going to be another topic. But when you just said, can you repeat the last words that you said? Do you remember them?
Which ones? About
when you can do that, but it's going to be returned to you.
Yeah. I mean, whatever.
I think that's important.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. The other side is not just going to stand there with one arm tied behind their back.
Yeah.
And weather all of this.
Yeah.
If they've got a competent attorney on the other side, they're going to figure out how to come back at you. That's their job. That's what they're paid to do. And so and it's not going to be fair, especially if you come in and you say, I want Scorched Earth. All right, Scorched Earth. Great. We'll spend 6 months fighting about a paragraph in your corporate bylaws you didn't even know existed. Why? Because it's costing the other side money. That's why you wanted Scorched Earth. Because we're going to spend 6 months and probably $15,000 fighting over this paragraph. And it probably has bearing, but it's not going to solve the problem.
Do you know what?
What?
Hi. So I'm going to go here for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we need to, if it's going to be a deep dive, we'll do it separately. What Jake taught me was the idea of a Pyrrhic victory. And 95% of my people love history, and everybody that loves history is like, I know exactly what he's talking about. And in fact, by the way, detour, one of my people started telling me all about the wars, and I was like, Pyrrhic victories in history. But anyway, the Pyrrhic victory is you win, but at the end, you're just like, was it worth it?
Well, you've lost more than that victory will ever yield.
And that helped so much, because we've talked sometimes, if people were talking to me about legal action, just sorting through what that might look like. And automatically sometimes, I don't know if you were aware of doing this, but I would throw something out to you. And I remember you're just like, okay, well, it's going to cost about this much. And you just gave me a perfect example with a paragraph of understanding why. Like, pretty much, however, I don't know what your words were, but it was just like, Tricia, however they slice this is going to be about the, like, how much they cost. And by the way, they might even have a resolution that makes them happy.
Yeah.
So do they want to go that? So, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you have any last words before we
Oh, no, but I mean, I think that's the important part of hopefully these conversations is you can put the spin on, because people don't listen to me. They hear what they want to hear from me in a professional context. And that's fine. But I think the important thing that can come out of these discussions is for you to put the psych spin on it to say, but there's more to this story.